Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Now today the title is actually very self-explanatory. We're just going to be going through the books that I read in January and my hopefuls for February. Funnily enough, I was able to stick to my hopefuls for January, so I have high hopes and I really hope that you do as well. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 50 subscribers and I'm at 45, so I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart if you subscribed. And yeah, let's get into it. So I read 6 books in total in January. 3 of them I own physically, 2 of them I listened to on an audiobook, and the other 4 I read through my Kindle. I'm going to run through them in order of like when I read them in the month. I'm going to tell you what I rated them, and just sort of a brief explanation of my thoughts. I don't want to go too deep into it. I do have a Fable where I obviously rate everything, and I don't write heavy reviews on there either. I sort of just write a few sentences, but my Fable link is in the description, so if you have Fable, come and follow me and we can chill and hang and just enjoy books together. Now, the first thing that I read in January was actually a reread. I've wanted to complete this series for a really long time, and knowing that they are all on Audible, I was like, you know what, we're gonna do it this year. So I reread Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. I read this for the first time a couple of years ago, and I wanted to continue with the series this year, but I could not remember anything from this book because I read it that long ago. I really enjoyed my reread. I forgot how much I enjoyed this when I read it. I gave it a 4-star, and I just love it. I love Erica so much. I love Michael so much. And I just think it's a really cool concept. I've not read a lot of dark romances in my time. I will be completely real with you. But I think this series is a pretty good place to start. It's got a bit of everything from like unhinged men to down bad men to strong female characters to slightly more defenseless female main characters. It's got plot, it's got spice, it's got a bit of everything. I really enjoyed rereading this. I did listen to it on Audible. This is one of my Audible books, and it was a reread. I know I said that already. Whatever. Once I finished Corrupt, I then moved on to Hideaway. This again was one of my Audible reads for the month of January. I enjoyed Hideaway. I was a little bit shocked that I didn't enjoy it as much as Corrupt. I loved Kai in Corrupt, and I really thought that I was going to enjoy his book so much more. But I don't know. I feel like he got a bit lost. I think where the root of this story is a lot of like Banks and Damon, Kai got a little bit lost, which was a bit of a downside. Like, I was a bit sad about that, but it was still a good book. I think I gave this a 3.5. And I think the reason that I did that was just because it felt more like the prequel to Damon's book than Kai's book. But I still really enjoyed it. I love Banks. I love Kai still. And yeah, I gave this a 3.5. Now, we are gathered here today to bid farewell to my emotional stability, because the next book that I finished in the month of January actually fully ended me for good. And that is Alchemized. This book is incredible. If you are a fan of like psychological dark fantasy, you will like this book. I will say, check your trigger warnings. I know that that is a common thing that people say about almost everything now, but with this book, I am serious. It is dark, it is twisted, it is messed up, but it is so good and such a worth it story. And it is one of those books where you love and hate the ending, you love and hate the villain, you love and hate the main character. Like, everything in here makes sense. It is a 5-star. I gave it a 5-star if it wasn't already freaking serious. But I loved this to pieces. It took me a little while to finish because I was listening to Devil's Night during, and it also just like wrecked me to my core. So I had to take some time to read this. But the way it's written and the way it was built is so incredible. If you have not read this and you think it sounds like something that you would like, pick it up. It is just, honestly, I don't know if anything else that I will read this year is going to top this. And I've read this month. So it's like, how... It's honestly incredible. I want to reread it really badly. I also want to go and read Manacled now because I want to see the similarities and the differences and just, you know, out of curiosity, really, for like what it was before it was this. Then the next two things that I read in the month of January was Face Off and Power Play by Chelsea Curto. Face Off was a book club pick for a book club that I run with a few of my friends. And it was the January pick. I was really excited about reading this because I've heard amazing things about the DC Starred series. I love hockey romance so much. As you guys know, I'm writing one. So I was really excited to read this. And when I read Face Off, I enjoyed it. It wasn't off-campus level, but it was good. Like, it was fun and it was needed after Alchemized. Like, it was what I needed. When reading Face Off, I was loving Liam. And so I was really excited that his book was next. So I jumped straight into that. And both books were really good. However, the common theme between the two is that it was very character driven. With fantasy, you have like the world building and, you know, such extremes going on elsewhere that if the characters fall flat a little bit, it's almost okay because you've got so many other things compensating. But especially as somebody who is planning and writing a romance book herself, I have come to realize that when it comes to romance, if your characters are not three-dimensional, relatable, and well-written, and if your plot is not interesting, your book is not going to work. For me, in these two books, I loved all the characters. I loved them so much. I think found family is one of my absolute favourite tropes of all time, and how Emmy came onto the team as the first female NHL player, met all of the guys, instantly, like, you know, was welcomed in, met the girls and everything. I honestly was loving it, and I love the vibes, and I love Emmy and Miller, I love Liam, and I love Piper, and I love all of the side characters. Like, they each got their own little teaser, taster, so you can sort of tell what their book might be about, and I loved that. And it was really well written, like, you know, the description was really great, everything that was going on was really great. However, I just feel like the plot got a bit lost with them. Like, in Face Off, you know, once they got together, that was sort of it. The only sort of plot, like, peak moment that happened was when her ex was playing against them, and obviously Mav ended up beating him up. But I think it didn't really test the limits of their relationship. You can say what you say about, like, third act breakup and miscommunication and things like that. I just think that in a romance book, when it comes to the third act, if there isn't something there that tests the limits of the relationship, what do you have? Like, unless it's a slow burn and they don't get together until a decent part toward the end, then I feel like you sort of need that buffer to keep it interesting. And like in Face Off, I was, you know, I'm pretty sure around sort of 40-50% is when they hook up for the first time. And that's like, okay, but now we've got 50% of a book where it's just them together. No, like, yearning, no, like, very little tension because they already know that they're interested in each other. So it just, like, it fell a little bit flat, but I still enjoyed it. It was a good palate cleanser from Alchemized, And then with Power Play, it just sort of reinforced that. Like, throughout the entire book, Piper was getting text messages from her ex-husband, you know, saying that she needs to answer him and contact him. And there was just nothing done with it. Like, I got to, you know, about 95% of the book, and I was expecting, like, you know, her ex-husband to show up at her house or something, and Liam standing in, or like her showing how much confidence she's gained from being with Liam and defending herself and talking for herself. But it just, like, nothing came of it. And, like, they went to the wedding and, like, everything was fine. There was nothing really that tested their relationship. And I just feel like, sort of, they were both really good books, and they were amazing. Sort of for the first, like, 50-60% of both of them were really good. But it was the sort of last, like, 30-40% where they just fell a little bit flat. I felt like any sense of a storyline, any sense of sort of development for the plot got lost because the romance was the plot. There was no individual character growth. It was growth of them together. I did prefer Power Play to Face Off. I gave Face Off a 3.75 and I gave Power Play a 4.25. So I still gave them good ratings. It wasn't to say I didn't like them, but they just fell a little bit flat for me. I think it sounds bad, but I do compare a lot of, like, hockey romances I read now to Off Campus. Just because that's my favourite hockey romance series. Which I shouldn't do, but I feel like it's difficult. It's like when I read a fantasy, I'm going to compare it to Throne of Glass because that's the best fantasy I've ever read. And it just, I don't know, it fell a little bit flat. So I'm not anxious to read the rest of them, but if I ever along the line need, you know, something between fantasies or something between an interconnected standalone series that I just need a little sort of quick palate cleanser, then I will go back to them. And then the final thing that I read this month, I read in one day. Like, I literally started it in a morning and I finished it in the evening. I wanted something spicy, just something to binge, because I was planning to read a fantasy first thing February. So I was like, right, I just want something easy, like just mindless that I can read until I start that. I'm going to tell you right now, I can't even remember what the title of the book is. It will be here where I've been flashing up the covers and things. I gave this book a 2-star. It came across my For You page, and typically I really enjoy, like, Omegaverse, Why Chooses. Why Chooses in general are some of my favourite books of all time. I love a Why Choose so much. And I picked this up just thinking it was going to be something easy, and I rarely come across a Why Choose I don't like. Now I have. I was just so frustrated the whole time. Like, there was her, Rowan, and 4 of the guys, and I didn't like 3 of them. They were just, like, genuinely treating her like property. And it was just disgusting. Like, she was there having a breakdown because her only friend told her that she didn't want to be friends with her anymore. And the captain of their pack or whatever was thinking the whole time about how she was a brat and he was going to punish her. I was like, it really frustrated me. And I think because I didn't like 3 out of the 4 guys, it really ruined it for me. But overall, it was just a little bit weird. Annoyingly, I do want to read the second one. I'm really curious if there's going to be any, like, groveling, any sort of emotional connection between her and them of any kind. But I don't know if there will be. So that is all the books that I read in January. I have quite a few hopefuls for February, so I'm really hopeful, that I can actually achieve them. The first 2 that I'm hoping to read is Secrets of the Dead and Legacy of the Heirs by Laura Carter. I really appreciate Laura and everything that she has done. She has developed this world and written these books in such a short amount of time. And as somebody who is obviously trying to do that too, I'm just so in awe of like what she's done. Secrets of the Dead is a reread for me. The first time I read this, I was not in the best place. I think it really affected my outlook on the book. There was a lot of things going on in my personal life and a lot of things that I was trying to process mentally. And it just meant that when I read it, I wasn't fully appreciating it. And I felt like I almost had to like it because I know Laura and I wanted to like it for her. But given everything that I was experiencing in my personal life, it was feeding into the experience of the book, and I just could not fall in love with it the way that I wanted to. But I really want to give it another chance. I have recently reconnected with Laura, and I truly just want to support her. And I want to love this world. Like, she is doing exactly what it is that I want to do. And I'm just really curious if I didn't like this because I didn't like it, or if I didn't like it because it's connected to such a strange time of my life. So I'm giving it another go. I'm currently, I think, about 15% through, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'm really happy about that. It makes me so happy, and I'm very excited to read the rest of the books. If you've not read this series yet, I'm going to put a little description of what it's about in the description, and a link to Laura's website where you can purchase. I believe book 5 in this series comes out at the end of February, and book 6 comes out in October, which is the final book in the series. So I'm very, very excited to read the ones of these that I haven't read. Given how much I'm now enjoying this, I can tell that it sort of was the time of my life that I was reading it that was reflecting on it. I'm really hopeful to read Secrets of the Dead and Legacy of the Heirs this month. The next book that I'm going to read this month is Verity by Colleen Hoover. Verity was the book club pick for February for the book club that I run, so I'm very, very excited to read that. I've owned it for a long time, and actually out of the Colleen Hoover books that I own, that is one of like the couple that I've not read yet, so I'm really excited to read it. I've heard good and bad things, so I'm curious what my thoughts will be. And I know that Colleen Hoover is a sensitive subject, but I bought all of the physicals of the ones I own before everything came out about her. I'm not condoning her behaviour at all, but she made the money off of me before she became controversial. So it's just a book on my shelf now. Please let me read it. And then the final physical thing that I'm going to read is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. Me and a couple of my friends, we read Alchemized together last month and really enjoyed it. So we're doing it again. We've picked Butcher and Blackbird because my friend Ida has already read it. She loves it. My friend Alice is a big like dark romance girly. And I've not read much dark romance, so I really want to branch out. So we picked this one for this month, and I'm really, really excited to read it. And then Audible wise, I'm gonna be trying to bang through the rest of Devil's Night. I have about an hour and a half left of Kill Switch as of now, so I will probably finish that tomorrow. And then I've just got Conclave, Nightfall and Fire Night left. I think it is quite feasible because Conclave and Fire Night are novellas, so they're like less than 3 hours each. And then obviously Nightfall is a full-length book, so that's my aim for February. I really hope you enjoyed this little chat through. I know it was quite talky, but I hope it was interesting nonetheless. I'm going to try and get in the habit of doing these monthly, but if they go up a little bit late just because of my posting schedule, then I do apologise. I love you all so much. I hope you had a good January, and yeah.